You know what? No. I'm going to go no now. Aaron Judge is not a Hall of Famer.
The magic number, my dude, is 0. After watching that incredibly boring Seattle Mariners and Detroit Tigers game last night and watching the Mariners lose, that clinched home field advantage for the Toronto Blue Jays. So not sure exactly who they're going to be playing yet in the wild card series. Most likely, it looks like Seattle, the Mariners' magic number for clinching the round against the Blue Jays is 2. So any combination of 2 wins by them or 2 losses by the Rays. Of course, we're down to it. The Rays have 2 games left, and the Mariners, with that doubleheader today, have 3 games left. So in the next day or two, we should know exactly how things are lined up for these wild card series, and we'll go from there. Hello and welcome, everybody, to the walk-off. It is Mailbag Monday on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack. How you feeling, buddy? You watched that Seattle game last night too, right?
Yeah, stayed up late to get that game out of the way. We were kind of texting about this during the game. We are sure grateful for the phenomenal broadcast team we have in Toronto.
Big time. I'm not going to sit here and completely shit on the Mariners broadcast crew, but my goodness. Like, it would annoy me so much. Listen, I know that every broadcast is a homer broadcast, and why wouldn't it be? You're obviously trying to appeal to your fans, the people who are advertisers are paying to advertise to. You don't want to completely, but I want as unbiased as possible. It drives me nuts when they get too biased. But my goodness, the Mariners was just like...
You know what? Speaking of unbiased opinions, I really enjoyed Buck when Vladdy hit one off the wall and he watched it, and then he chased his mistake in trying to stretch it into the double and got thrown out. And it was just like one of the worst plays I've seen Vladdy make in a long time. And it was right after Bo Bichette had that weird base running error with his foot off the base at 2. And just to hear Buck tell it how it is, it's like, that's why we love Buck.
100%. And obviously, Buck and Tabby lean towards the Jays, just like every broadcast crew leans towards the team they're covering. They're human. But watching that Mariners broadcast, dude, they could do nothing wrong. And it was so weird to hear them not acknowledge that if they lost, they were no longer in it for home field advantage. Like that whole game, they were acting like all the Mariners need to do is win out, and they've got this thing. They didn't acknowledge that it would take the Blue Jays losing the next 2 games. They didn't acknowledge that this is an uphill battle and that most likely they're going to be playing in Toronto. It was weird to watch, and I don't really care.
You're not doing your fans a service, though, when you're misleading them, are you? Like, if you're a casual fan tuning in and you take a little bit of education out of that broadcast and you think, oh, all we got to do is win out, and then hypothetically you watch your team win out and then you're devastated when you find out you still didn't get home field advantage, like, that's not good.
I know the Mariners are going to bring it when they come to Toronto, but watching that game last night, whew.
One thing I like about the Seattle Mariners broadcast is that camera angle they do from behind the third base stands.
Yes.
It's like a panning. It kind of zooms down, and it's just kind of a cool angle that we don't get in
that we don't get.
Toronto.
It was a very
I really like that.
Every
Every time I watch a Mariners game, I see that angle. It's like it must be a camera on a track or something, and I don't know. It's cool.
It is a very cool camera angle, but just a boring game. I mean, the Detroit Tigers are a terrible team, and the Mariners have not been playing well lately.
No, they have not.
I'm
Julio
not saying that
Rodriguez
I
has been
want-
injured. I don't know how much of
Yeah.
a factor that is.
He had a big game last night.
He's back last night, yeah. But yeah, they have been kind of limping across the finish line here. So,
Whereas the Blue Jays are playing, in my opinion, the best baseball they have all season long. They look really, really good, and they look incredibly focused and determined.
absolutely. Should we get into the mailbag, my friend?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Of course, every single week we comb through all of our socials, so you can always feel free to reach out to us if you'd like a question or comment acknowledged in the mailbag. That is on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. Our Discord is always a happening place, and so if you are looking for 150 plus rabid other Blue Jays fans who are constantly talking baseball and Blue Jays, this is a great place for you to reside, is our Discord. Of course, there's a link in the show notes for that. It's always free. And a big shout out to our Patreon, which we will acknowledge all of you after the mailbag here at the end, but it is truly appreciated. Every little bit helps. And I know that all of you are very helpful in getting this computer upgrade that has allowed us to go live almost every day since we got it, which is super appreciated to you. And hopefully the extra content is a good enough payoff. So there you go. Let's get into it.
All right. First one comes in from Twitter. So at Olivia Tweets tweeted at about our interview with Ben Nicholson-Smith yesterday. Ben was great. This was very enjoyable. In brackets, you guys were fine too. Winky face.
Yes, well, thank you, Olivia. Appreciate the kind
What
words. Ben Nicholson-Smith. Go ahead.
A lot of backhanded compliments coming our way this week.
It's good.
It's good. Yeah, it keeps us humble.
No, well, I feel like it's our listeners get that we're ball busters, and so they like to give
absolutely.
it right back, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, we've
That's
been
what
saying,
I tell myself anyways.
hey, we're 3 years into this show, and we've been saying since day one, you might not like Scott or I, but you've got to like our guests. We get some of the best guests around. So
we're also 2 years, 2 months, but it feels like 3 years.
I said we're in our 3rd year.
Okay, 3rd year. My apologies. I should not have corrected you.
All right. 3rd season covering the Jays. At Blue Jays My Way DM'd us on Twitter and said, how are you getting these guests? Who the F are you guys?
Yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough. This is a good one, too.
I don't even know how to answer that question.
I don't know
how we're getting them.
We are just a couple of stupid comedians from out west who know how to hustle and grind. So
I know we were talking even before we hit record that in the last 2 weeks we've had Julia Cruz with MLB.com, Chris Black, producer for Sportsnet, John Gibbons, former manager of the Blue Jays, and Ben Nicholson-Smith.
Yeah, and that doesn't even touch the MLB roster Blue Jays we've had. The Ring of Honor level.
So
Blue
far
Jays.
above our weight class, buddy.
We don't
doesn't
deserve
even
it
make
for
sense
sure.
To me, yeah.
So there you go. Good fun there. It's funny when we had Ben Nicholson-Smith on for, I don't know, the 3rd or 4th time. What did he say to you when you were bugging him? He says, I'll hand it to you. You guys are nothing if not persistent or something.
Yes, that's exactly. Yeah, I'd reach out once a month and he'd be like, you know what, man, I'll give you that. You stay on me.
9 times out of 10, that's the answer is I'd love to, but I can't right now. Everybody's so busy during the season. So
yeah,
looking forward to an off season full of more top-notch guests coming your way. So
the off season is our wheelhouse when it comes to our best guests. And whenever you see a high-profile guest on this show during the season, just understand how much we have bothered that person.
Yes, exactly. All right, next one comes in on Twitter as well. So Molly Loves Bo Forever says, hey guys, just wanted to send you a question for the mailbag. Do we just need Jose Berrios to pitch in the rain to be good? But seriously, why do you think his season has been so rough?
Oh, I think if we knew that, Molly, we would probably be a member of the Toronto Blue Jays analysis team. But there are a few things that have stood out to me on his stat line as to why. Number one, very good point about the rain. My goodness, Jose Berrios just with a stellar outing last night. 3 hits allowed, pitched 6 innings, gave the Blue Jays the win, and helped them clinch that home field advantage. Couldn't ask for more.
Hey, yesterday we were talking difference makers for this Blue Jays team to go deep. I think you picked Tapia, and I picked Berrios. If we can get starts like what we saw yesterday out of Berrios, that's going to make a world of difference.
You know what stood out to me, Adam, when I started going through his stats? His whip is gross this year.
Yeah.
Jose Berrios, walk, hits, innings pitched, is sitting at 1.42. My goodness, that is a lot of walks and hits to allow. Like,
yeah, 1.5 an inning.
1.5 an inning.
You're playing with fire when your whip is that high, that's for sure.
And this has been the problem with Berrios all year long, is that when he allows a guy to get on first base, he's prone to the long ball. He gives up home runs this season. And you can get away with that. We have seen, obviously, the Rogers Center is a home run friendly park, and we have watched pitchers throughout Toronto Blue Jays history give up home runs at a rate higher than average, but be okay, because they do it as solo shots. But as soon as you start to put a runner on first, a runner on second, walking a guy here, giving up a hit here, and then you're allowing these home runs, you start to feel it in the ERA, and that's exactly what has happened to Jose Berrios this year. If you look at his career whip over 8 seasons, it's 1.25. Like, he's a full 0.2 higher on that walks, hits, innings pitched. And it's hurting him. It's affecting how many runs he's giving up. His ERA this year is sitting at 5.23, which is a full run higher than his career average. It is a little concerning looking at his strikeouts this year, too, which are down. Last year, he struck out 204 batters. This year, he's sitting at 149.
Oof. That is not good.
28 years old. He's at over 1,000 innings pitched career-wise. You almost have to wonder if, even if Berrios comes back to what he was, if maybe he's just a number 3 starter. Maybe he's a number 4 starter. We're paying him a lot of money to be a number 4 starter or a number 3 starter. However, if you're just hoping for and Adam and I talk about this all the time, the back of the baseball theory. That once you hit a certain point in your career, you're pretty good to turn that baseball card around, look at the career average, and that's probably what you're after for a season. And yeah, this season's been an outlier for Jose Berrios.
Yeah,
but
well,
how much do you expect that correction to be? Like, honestly, Adam, how much do you expect the correction to be? 28 years old, 1,000 innings pitched.
I don't know. You look at a lot of pitchers. They're almost never good their entire career. So I'm hoping that's all this is. I'm hoping, like you mentioned, the whip being a full 0.2 higher than it has been in the past. The strikeouts are like way lower than they have been.
Like 30%.
25%. 30%.
Yeah.
Low. So I don't know what's bugging them. Something's off. I don't think this is the... I have to have faith in this front office trading for him and getting it right. I don't know.
He's been healthy. 172 innings pitched this season. 12-7 record. He has had a substantial amount of quality starts.
It's just when he's off, he's way off.
And you don't know when it's coming.
No, I know that's the weird thing with him is there's no rhyme or reason to the home and away splits or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know what to say with Berrios. I'm not worried about him long term still. Like, the life of this contract, I still think is going to be, I think we're going to be happy with it. It's too bad he didn't pitch really well this year.
This is kind of his mulligan season.
Yeah.
How much more rope do you give him? I mean, obviously they can't do anything with this contract. You're kind of, Jose Berrios is your guy. This is the decision that they made in the offseason. And it's still, like you said, man, could very well work out.
Are you worried about it long term?
I'm a little concerned long term. Yeah. I'm honestly not concerned so much about will Jose Berrios be this guy for the rest of the contract. I don't think he will be. But I am kind of concerned that maybe his career average is the best we can hope for. Maybe Jose Berrios is a 4.25 ERA guy who's going to get 200 strikeouts, but also going to give up walks, going to give up hits, and is going to be a guy that slots in as that number 3 or 4 guy in a rotation. I am a little concerned with that because if that is the case, it does handcuff the Blue Jays a little bit with how much money they can spend on this rotation moving forward.
Samuel in the live chat's asking how long is the contract again? It is 5 years with a player opt out after 5 and then 2 more.
He's got another 4 years after this season with a player opt out and 2 more years after that. And the 2 years after that are backloaded. So I think it's $28 million a season for those 2 final years. So if what we're talking about and what I'm concerned about is that his career average is actually the pitcher he is at 28 years old. That
$28 million for a 35-year-old on the back end of his career, that could be ugly.
Exactly. And dang well, and you know darn well he's going to take that option if he is the guy he might be, right? The career average guy.
All right, that's a bummer. We're still going to see him again this year. I mean, God willing, he'll be starting for us in the playoffs, right? We got
put an asterisk next to everything I just said, buddy. I would love nothing more than to eat my words next season. I would love for people to be taking this video, putting it in the comments when we're talking about how great Jose Berrios has been for the team, which people have loved to do with us.
People do love to dig up old hot takes and throw them in our faces. All right, Northern Grower.
Probably deservedly so.
Northern Grower in the chat says, is Berrios a starting pitcher in the playoffs? Probably
yes.
Not in the wild card series, but almost certainly throughout the playoffs.
You need 4 starters once you get out of this wild card series, and there is no dang way we see Mitch White or Yusei Kikuchi. There's no other options. Jose Berrios is the guy.
He's the guy. Which also means he's not a bullpen option, right? We kind of talked about this yesterday. He's not going to piggyback with Stripling or anything like that. Even the idea of Stripling coming out of the bullpen to back up Jose Berrios, we can't do that, right? Whoever doesn't get the start in a game 3, we need to start in game 1 against the Astros.
So game 3, I think all bets are off. If this wild card series goes to game 3, I think absolutely they're starting most likely Ross Stripling.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this ad nauseum. Stripling could be the number 2 starter in this series,
sure.
especially if Kevin Gausman's finger is bugging him a little bit. They might give him an extra day and bump him to that number 3 spot, which also would allow, we've talked about this too, would allow the Blue Jays, if for some crazy reason they manage to pull off a sweep against whoever they're playing, it does line up Kevin Gausman to pitch game 1 and game 5 of an ALDS, which I think is the best case scenario for the Blue Jays. So we may watch Ross Stripling line up in that number 2 game of the wild card series, but we'll need to wait and see. Obviously, this is all speculation at this point.
Game 1 goes Friday. Friday,
yes,
Saturday, Sunday. That is, I guess all 4 wild card series are happening at the same time, right?
Monday could be such a celebration or just such a frickin' day we don't even want to frickin' turn our mics on, you know?
Yep. I know exactly what you mean. We have definitely had those episodes before, and I'm not ready for another one just yet.
It is wild to think how long the baseball season is, and that over the weekend, all of our hopes and dreams rely like Blue Jays Nation relies on a 3-day span, Friday to Sunday, less than 72 hours, as to whether we're all.
I feel
ready
good.
to
I feel good in
celebrate,
this wild card series. I think we're going to
Me
get
too,
the
man.
Mariners. The Mariners are not setting the world on fire the way they were a month ago. I mean, they had one of the softest schedules of all these wild card teams in the back half of September, and they've
And are
lost more
limping
games than they won.
Yes.
So we kind of expected them to run away with home field advantage. They have not been able to do so. Blue Jays, on the other hand, are firing right now. So that's good. I feel good about this matchup, especially in Toronto. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do you think we get an early game? We don't know the times of these games yet.
I mean, if there's anything that MLB likes to do, it is to deal a bum hand to the Canadian team. So it is possible. However, I don't know if they're going to start Friday with the Blue Jays Mariners game, being the Mariners are a West Coast team, because if they do give the Jays the noon start Eastern, that works to 9 a.m. in Seattle.
It's a sick day. No one's going to work.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll wait and see. We really appreciate all of you within the walk-off community. This thing continues to grow and become an animal of its own. It's a little bit overwhelming, but honestly, we love talking Blue Jays baseball and all the interaction that you folks are involved with us. Thank you so much. Discord, feel free to join it. That is always free. The show, or the link is in the show notes. You can follow us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. And if you are watching on YouTube currently and you're not subscribed, we'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. All the best, everybody. Cheers.